Traditionally, software only worked the way the programmers wrote it. To make changes, you had to request custom programming or a future feature. There was typically a big delay, large cost, or both. Smart Fields allow you to customize the operation of your perfect practice software without actually making software changes. These fields work by allowing SQL statements in any questionnaire field. They're similar to the macros found in spreadsheets and word processors, but are more powerful. To demonstrate this power, we've added a completely new feature through the use of a new questionnaire, one smart field, and a query button. Now, users can request a check from Case Management without any access to the accounting module. The smart field in this example is the vendor lookup field. When you leave or save this field with its embedded macro, the command is executed. Simply select the vendor for this check. Click OK. The ID for the vendor selected will appear. When you leave the vendor field, the smart field will be activated. It fills in the default information for the vendor. Now the user can simply enter an amount and make any necessary changes. Once this is done, simply press one of the Create Check Request buttons. Another use of a smart field is a pop-up. We're going to select the Property Type field. This case is a foreclosure. There aren't any special requirements for normal property types. Mobile homes, though, are special. They're both property and vehicles. We need additional information. We've configured the property type field as a smart field. Selecting the property type of mobile home will present the user with a pop-up. Now they won't forget to gather all the necessary information. You can make these fields mandatory. When the user's finished entering the additional information, they simply click the Save and Run button. The smart field will execute the configured commands. In this case, the smart field's been configured to fill in the fields that are located at the bottom of the questionnaire. This process could have filled out any fields associated with the case, even on a different questionnaire. Remember I said smart fields could do almost anything? How about replacing some of the spreadsheets you use? This feature looked particularly useful, so Perfect Practice created a template. You won't have to write the macro, just install as many spreadsheets as you want. By the way, the check request is also a standard process you can install. There's no charge for these features. The template has a generic name for each field, but the math is built into the smart fields. There are 27 numeric fields per spreadsheet. You just rename each spreadsheet you install and change the field names to meaningful names. Turn off any fields not needed. Keep in mind, these fields can be merged into documents, such as closing statements. They can also be populated by other smart fields. The total of specific costs could appear in the cost field. Let's go back to the foreclosure example. You simply type in the amount for each cost. The total's automatically calculated. It's painless. Note that I've renamed the fields to represent the costs I want to track. These are smart fields. You can even bring in a total from notes or cost entries from accounting. The smart field can retrieve this information from any transaction type prior to performing the calculations. The totals are also being displayed at the bottom of the screen. Another template is for creating a checklist. This particular checklist is part of our HR module. Mr. Bourne failed to show up for work. He's being terminated. We need to make sure all affected procedures are followed. Checking any item will default in the day it was checked, along with the initials of the user that checked it. These can be changed if the user has the proper access level, but as always, all changes are tracked. Unlimited checklists are available. No programming required, just change the item names. By default, each checklist has 20 items. That was easy. We now have a record of the entire process. Here's one last example. This is a personal injury case. There's a field for the injured party. On a panel further down the page, there's a section for the injured party's injuries. We can hope the user remembers to fill it out, but we've decided to make it easier. When the injured party's name is entered, the injury information is automatically made available to me. One less thing to remember. These fields can also be made mandatory. I'm sure you have the idea by now. Smart fields allow for automating almost any function. Later, we'll show how smart fields can also work in conjunction with mass merging and workflow. It has a section of its own. That concludes the smart field portion of the presentation.